Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Vigilante. Vigilante is brought to you by Paranoia Rising Games. It's for 3 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, and games range anywhere from 90 to 120 minutes. Ever since the inmates of the East Side Penitentiary freed themselves and gained new powers, the city has been teeming with crime and terror. Will you be one to establish order, or will you join them in seizing control of the city's wealth and crushing those that stand in your way? In Vigilante, each of you will assemble a team of heroes to battle with escaped villains roaming the city. You will each have your own secret mission to accomplish, but be careful, not all of you are on the side of good. First, let's take a look at the main board. Now there's a series of cards here. You've got the city deck and the agency deck. These are the main decks that you'll be drawing from and playing cards from your hand. Now, these cards can do all kinds of different things. Some are equipment that you can attach to heroes. Others have abilities and actions that you can perform, but they also can be used as currency to purchase heroes from the hero market, which is located at the bottom of the board. Now, also on this main board, you'll find a scenario card. Now, based on the player count in the game, we'll determine which scenarios are available to you. But they're going to do all kinds of different things. But in general, you're kind of going after villains and putting them in jail. And this one in particular, brought to justice, that's exactly what you're doing. But the thing here is this card will tell you your starting hand of cards, how many rounds you're going to play, as well as how many events you start with. We'll talk about events more, and this is one of the neat things of the game. It does have the social deduction aspect to it. Now, also, it's going to determine, as far as the players go, how many good players, how many bad players, and how many neutral players are in the game. And you know, you're all going to be acquiring heroes and doing various things, but determining that, well, your identity will determine how you behave in the game and how you try to solve certain things. Now, this is also going to set up your villain deck. Now, there's all kinds of different villains, levels 1, 2, and 3, and they get increasingly harder as you'd expect. And you're going to be setting up those decks based on this card as well. Now let's take a look at your player mat. At the top of your board is your action tokens. You'll be spinning these throughout the round to do various things. Also, you have a player shield, which will help guide you through what is available to do on your turn, but really the player shield is meant to roll dice behind, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute. But you also have your starting hand of cards, which is based again on the scenario, and your first hero is a starter hero, and you'll place it in the first slot. You'll be dealt 2 and you get to pick 1. Then it's time to figure out identities. Are you good, are you bad, or are you neutral? So based on the scenario, you'll assemble the appropriate cards, the identity cards. You'll shuffle them up and deal 1 face down to each player. Now, these cards are going to outline your secret mission that you're trying to achieve. The good players are really trying to work together. However, there might just be one bad player in their game trying to work against you. But what you need to do in the game really is outlined on this card. Also, this identity card is going to show you which of the different allegiance tokens are going to be in play for you for this particular round. Now, you have 4 tokens that are going to be in play, and whatever you are, you'll have 2 of. So if you're a good player, you're going to have 2 good and 1 evil and 1 neutral. And what you're going to do with these tokens then is you're going to shuffle them up face down and place them out on your board, so even you don't know what order they are. And throughout the course of the game, this is part of the social deduction bit. People are going to be able to reveal those tokens secretly and try to figure out who you are, especially for the good players. You're really trying to work together to jail the right number of villains and help each other out. Now, each round of the game starts off with the active player drawing a new event tile from the bag. You're going to be drawing 2, keeping them secret, and then putting 1 into play. We'll talk about events at the end of the round, but this is one of the more interesting aspects of the game. Then each player in turn will be taking actions. Now you have 4 main actions you can perform. These are all dictated by the different lightning bolts or the action tokens, and you'll be ticking those off and removing them from your board as you take those main actions. We'll take a look at those in a minute, but you have some free actions too. You can have one-time use cards in your hand that can be activated. You might have text on a hero that can be activated, or you can just simply attach equipment to heroes as part of your free actions. So there's all kinds of options here as you move through. And as you activate all the main actions, remove those tokens from your board, then finally the last thing you're going to do in your turn is you take your dice and roll them behind your screen. You're going to choose one and put it into play under the events, and then you'll discard or hide the other dice, not showing what your 2 rolls were. because this is, again, part of that social deduction part of the game. Maybe you want the bad thing to happen that the events call for and you pick that dice, but you may not have any choice. So a lot of these different events are going to be doing all kinds of terrible things, but they're not all bad. But in general, you know, if you're the evil player, maybe you want all the bad to happen. But before those event dice get rolled, you have 6 main actions you can tap into. However, you only have 4 action tokens to use throughout the round. So the first one available to you is draw a card. Simply drawing a card from the city deck or the agency deck. But the agency deck only is active or available to you if you have jailed 3 villains. Or you might recruit a hero. Now the cards in your hand are going to have influence value in the top right corner. And if you look at the heroes, they have an influence cost. So you take a look at that, and if you can afford it, you can spin cards from your hand, discard them in order to purchase a hero. The hero then gets put in the next available slot on your player board. Or you can choose to fight a villain. However, until you've assembled some of a hero team, you might want to hold off on this one because they're simply going to get away and do damage to you. But you'll draw the top card of the villain deck and you'll engage with that villain. Now, the first thing you're going to do is look at the text, if there's text on the card, and do what it says. Unless it says to jail, and then only when you actually capture that villain and put it in jail will that activate. Now, you're attacking this villain, but it's going to hit you first. You have damage markers that you're going to place on the heroes in your grid, and each of the villain cards has the same grid and showing you exactly how much damage they do to the heroes in the different slots. So you'll do that damage, place the tokens first, and then you'll total up all your attack values of your heroes that are in play. And if it meets or beats the villain's heart value or health, then you win and that villain will go to jail. Now, if one of your heroes was defeated in this battle, too many damage markers placed on it, then that hero is flipped over and put to the side of your board in the defeated hero's area. Also, if you fail to defeat the villain in play, that villain card is then just placed at the bottom of the villain deck. Now, the last 3 actions available to you are pretty straightforward. 1, you have heal. You're removing 1 damage token from a hero. Secondly, you have inventory management. You can remove an item you've previously equipped on a hero to save it for another round. Now, also, you have the ability or option to trade a card with another player at the table. Now, those are all the main actions you can perform, but you have various things on the different cards and your heroes that you can do as well. So let's take a closer look at events now. You've rolled your dice in secret and placed 1 into play. Now, all the dice are color-coded, so everyone knows what you chose, but they don't know what your second dice result was. So maybe you didn't have choices and you had to place one that is particularly bad. But these events are going to do all kinds of different things, like forcing you to lose a card or forcing you to free a villain that you had jailed. But the events are going to also dictate how many rounds have been played. So you could keep an eye on that towards the end of the game. And you hope that you've achieved victory based on your identity card. Alright folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this game has a lot of interesting aspects to it, and one big one is that social deduction. You're trying to figure out who's evil, who's good, who's neutral. And the way you do that throughout the game is you have a couple different cards that can aid you. You've got interrogation and you've got investigation. These cards are going to help you look at the different tokens of your fellow players and even reveal them and do damage and things. So as the good players, you're trying to find each other, obviously, because you are working together and so forth. But the social deduction aspect is pretty interesting. But beyond that, you are assembling this team of heroes. And I love all the different heroes' abilities and the different aspects that they can perform. And how just engaging with villains works. Really is streamlined and works really well. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something that would be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.